Hello, everybody. I'm Bruce Montgomery, and this is my colleague, Tracy Priest, and we're with The Road to Retail. Tracy and I hope to offer tips and insights to small, emerging challenger brands and how they best go about building their business and ultimately getting onto the shelves at large national retailers. Tracy and I have been in the business for over 30 years in what we call commercial operations, and that's anything to do with the selling, marketing, new product development, trade marketing. We've been involved in building broker and distributor networks, both domestically and internationally, new product development, and brand acquisition and divestiture. So we've been around the block for a long time. Today's topic is we're going to discuss the order in which you approach retailers when you think you're ready to go to brick and mortar. So for those of you that have seen our little snippets here before, remember, we always counsel prove it online first. You have a lot more control, and retailers have access to a ton of data. If you're starting to get traction, believe me, they'll notice. And it's a lot cheaper to work through any hiccups online before you go to big retail and have to get involved with all the slotting and distribution costs. So first, make sure you're really ready for that move into brick and mortar. It sounds sexy to say you're going to go approach all these retailers and get into 8,000 stores. Tracy's going to tell you a story of a client of his that thought they were ready and they weren't. And it's very expensive to be wrong. Another thing you need to make sure you think through is which classes of trade really make the most sense for your brand. So again, we're talking order. Ultimately, if you're ambitious and your product is pretty much general market, you may in fact deserve to be everywhere, but that will take time, right? So you're going to need to figure out, are you a high-priced brand? If you are, you probably don't want to launch in the dollar channel. If you really haven't been heard of before, you don't want to go to Costco. They probably won't call, but if they did, you want to be really, really careful there. And the other thing you need to make sure is be very discerning. If your product is very strong in New England, your best chance is going to be to find New England-based retailers and project out from where you have some advantages already versus starting in, say, Phoenix just because you hit it off with someone at a trade show, right? You may also find out that as you get these first invites and you're successful getting distribution, you may want, or the retailer may ask for an exclusive arrangement. We've all seen stories where this is successful. Think of Harry's. And we've also seen things that don't work out. If you go this route, it's very important that you understand upfront, what are the metrics that are going to dictate whether or not this is successful. You're going to want to understand how long this period of exclusivity is. And if you do gain traction at this retailer and they come and ask for an extension of the period of exclusivity, you need to know what your answer is. Because one time I was working for a firm and we did that, and that we got asked for the extension and we were not anticipating that question. Luckily, we made something up kind of on the fly and it worked out. So you really need to anticipate that. Tracy?
Yeah, a couple things. So one thing I want to emphasize, Bruce and I are very big fans of a regional approach to retail. Start in your backyard, start where you can make your marketing dollars work the best and be really targeted. And again, I want to emphasize that what we mean by class of trade for those who are really new to the industry is that we mean like food, like a Albertsons, Safeway, or a Kroger, a mass retailer, a Target, a Walmart, or a drug class of trade, drug retailer like a CVS, a Rite Aid, and a Walgreens. As Bruce mentioned, I've had some horror stories in the past couple of years of brands who really thought they were ready to come to retail and chose Target as the first retailer to launch at, and it was an absolute disaster. They thought they were ready and they were not, and it really turned very ugly between the retailer and the brand. The other thing I want to emphasize on class of trade, specifically to the natural channel, I've had brands where they felt like the brand was the best fit with the natural channel, but didn't do all the due diligence needed to make sure that their ingredients in their product was going to pass the strict requirements of a natural channel retailer, and it did not, and it was a failure. And that's the other thing. that Bruce mentioned is understand what the cost or what a success looks like, but you also want to know what failure looks like, because failure means come pick up my product, I'm going to mark it down 50% and you're going to pay for it. So be definitely prepared for both success as well as failure. And then also, as far as order goes, you don't want to start with an EDLP retailer, because that will set your price low in the marketplace. And then other retailers, because they work on a different margin requirement, will not be able to match that. And that will be a problem in that discussion. The other thing you want to avoid is going into a retailer just because they give you a meeting. That doesn't mean anything. You've got to have a strategy, which we've talked about in our previous episodes, and you have to stick to that strategy. Bruce, anything else to add there?
Yeah, one other thing, I almost interrupted you, Tracy, and that would have been the beauty of live TV. Supply chain is critical. It's always been, and it's been gaining importance in recent years, more and more and more as people try to carry less inventory. But during COVID, it really was driven home, the companies that had their supply chain nailed down. So if you're going from an online only operation where you have a ton of control, where you're now having to fill big pipeline orders and ship it to a lot of places, multiple DCs, really make sure that your supply chain is stress tested and you can keep up. Tracy gave the story of the client that had the unfortunate incident at Target. One of our bumper stickers, we don't have a store yet, but we will one day. One of our bumper stickers is the only thing a retailer hates more than a product that doesn't sell is one that doesn't ship. So really make sure that you temper your enthusiasm and don't get out over your skis and can't keep up, because generally you will not get a second chance. Tracy, that's all I had to add.
Yeah, and let me just jump in here. That's another reason to take a regional approach. I've worked on a brand recently that had not shipped one case to a brick and mortar retailer, and getting set up on EDI, making sure their specs and pricing was correct. You really don't want to stress test your logistics on a big major retailer like a Target or Walmart. You want to start small and make sure that you can handle it and then grow from there. Anything else to add there, Bruce?
No, I think that's a wrap.
That sounds great. Thanks so much for joining us today, everybody. And if you have any other further questions, you can reach us at road2retailp@gmail.com. Again, that's road, the letter or the number 2, retailp@gmail.com. Thanks everybody again for joining us, and have a great day.
Thank you.